and I'm also going to get the module company on for that exact answer that we're looking for.
Well,
So-
Liz, can we do that?
Yes, you can second call this case, sure.
Yeah, this way I'd like to answer your questions with the 100% knowledge of what's coming from the module company that's stating it, as also, I will also find out for the survey. And this way I'm not holding up everybody. I just need to be second call if I could do that.
As a courtesy to anybody that may be attending, Ham, did you have any more questions? Because I want to see if anybody wanted to testify before the board in the public.
I just wanted to, oh, Ham, you go ahead.
No, I didn't have, I was concerned because this was a lot. And I just was, my understanding, why could they not build within the guidelines of the code based on the property?
Scott?
Since it wasn't a building that was there, it was something that they were initiating.
And that's a valid concern. I was just going to reiterate what we're looking for is the elevations at the property lines and the elevation of the first floor, so that we know that your pyramid drawing is based in reality, not just, because it's a perfectly straight line.
Right.
And even though a site is flat, it usually isn't perfectly straight.
So I will be more than happy to get that answer for you. As I appreciate if you could put me to second call, I will get that answer.
Let me first ask if there's anyone in the audience that wants to speak to this. Okay, great. We'll come back to you when you're ready.
Okay, great. Just a little bit and I'll wait until you call me again.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
bye. All right, I believe our next case is 152 Hamilton. We don't need a motion to open this hearing. It's been open. Is the applicant here?
I see him here. 152 Hampton, right?
Yes.
Mr. Loeffler's muted. Carrie, can you unmute him?
Hi, sorry about that. I'm Stephen Loeffler. I'm the applicant.
Would you like to continue your presentation? We put you under oath before, I believe.
Yes. The last time that we were here, I believe that there was some misunderstanding about what which site plans everyone had. So I believe you all have those site plans now, as well as the pyramid drawing, because I brought those in a couple of months ago. And we've since received the negative declaration from the conditional negative declaration from the planning board. So just before I continue, if I could just get some assurance that you have received those, because I'd like to address those as we go forward.
Yes, I have it. It's dated April 14, 2021.
Right, and I believe the pyramid may have a different date on it because that had been submitted previously and didn't change. So right now, the description that appears on the agenda really does not match anything that's on here now, because we progressed considerably. We've made a number of changes. We've reduced the number of variance requests, and we have since gone to the planning board and received, as I said, the negative declaration. So we're down to 3. We're looking at 3 variance requests on this application at this point. The first one is for the change of use on the first floor only to from offices to retail. The second one is for a variance for off-street parking of 3 spaces. And the third one is for 980 something cubic feet for the pyramid. In terms of the first one, the change of use.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
If you look at our agenda, could you do us a favor of identifying for purposes of this record, which ones you are currently asking for? I assume you're not asking for small I in parentheses, but you are asking for the two I's and 3.
Just bear with me a minute. Well, I had actually prepared this, but it didn't make it to the agenda form that's online. So I can read it to you the way that I have it here, because it does give the code references and it gives the amounts.
Okay.
Okay. Just bear with me a second.
Well, I'm just wondering whether, because it is easy for us as board members to go through the actual description in our agenda. So
We could
would
do
it
it
be
the other way
possible for
around.
us to, would
Yeah.
it be possible for just to read them to you and you tell
That'd
us
be
that
great.
that's no longer
That'd be great.
variance that you're seeking or not?
That'd be great.
Number 1 is the proposed side yard setback variance for the addition of 13.7 feet where 15 feet is required. Therefore, relief in the amount of 1.3 feet is required.
That's been eliminated.
Okay. We did Ivy. Okay, 2, the proposed 2-story addition will protrude into the sky plane by a volume of 1,487.5 cubic feet.
The only difference on that one is the amount of the cubic feet penetration. Instead of the number that was originally on our application, it's 981.6.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 3 is for a change from one conforming use warehouse office to another office retail.
Well, I don't know. That description was inaccurate to begin with. It's actually a limited change of use from offices to offices and/or retail on the first floor only.
So there's no second floor use other than warehouse.
Other than offices, it's already permitted for offices.
And so the first floor uses are going to office and or retail.
That's correct.
But that is a change, right? From office to
change-
office and or retail.
It's the change is to add the retail
Add the
essentially.
retail.
Right.
So that's not a small change, just noted.
And just so I'm clear, Liz, this change request is an increase in non-conformity, is it not?
No, it's a request to change from one pre-existing non-conforming use to another
another.
under the code.
Right. Right.
Not necessarily an increase in non-conformity.
Correct. Okay. 4, to allow the total lot coverage to be 35.8% or 8,226 square feet, where 25% is permitted.
That's all been changed. That we're no longer seeking a lot coverage variance.
And 5, to
Can I ask
allow,
a question about that before we move on? So in the previous decision, is the reason you're not asking that is because you already have a decision for 35.8%?
That's correct. That was provided for in the 2019 decision for the
Okay.
patio.
Right, so that's why they already have a variance
Understood.
to cover that.
That's correct.
Okay, that was it.
Number 5 is to allow the proposed vegetation to be 45% or 8,698 square feet, where 50% is required. Therefore, the relief of 2.3% or 516.5 square feet is required.
And that just is just the same as Scott illustrated a moment ago. That's already been received in the 2019 decision.
So essentially, we're down to number 2, and that's the sky plan reduction to 98.6. Number 3, the change from one non-conforming use to another to include retail. And that is it. Is that correct?
No, the off-street parking.
Which is not listed here.
It's not listed.
Well, it was, Carrie, I believe that when you what do you call it? Didn't you publish that?
Excuse me?
I said, when you re-noticed this, that was published, I believe, was it not?
The re-noticing, it wasn't re-noticed for this meeting.
No, you told me that this was re-noticed when I gave you the, remember when I sent you the, remember when I said to you that this, because it's very confusing to all of these people because they're new? And you said that Ms. Vale said that you needed to re-notice it?
Yeah, if we did all of the changes that you said that you wrote down, we would have to re-notice it. And then you stated that you didn't want it to be re-noticed. So we had the building inspector look at it. I wrote the board what the building inspector came up with. You guys got that email yesterday.
Right, and that includes a parking variance for 3 stalls, which is not in this description.
No, it's not
Okay.
on the agenda, but we do have this application attached to
Right.
the materials, but it's not stated on the agenda.
No, well, the question is, was it noticed for that, correct, Liz?
Right, so if it wasn't, this application, has been going on for so long, we should continue our hearing tonight, let him present, hear from the public, and then we can renotice it to cure any defect in notice for the next meeting, to make sure it's accommodated.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions of the applicant before we ask the public to speak? All right,
Okay, so just so we're clear, we're only down to the 3 requests. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And may I continue regarding each one, or do you want to speak with the public first? I'm not quite sure.
You should present first.
you should present first, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'd like to address first just bear with me a minute. We believe that the changes and the modifications that we've made to this have made it smaller, we've required less variances, and we believe that this proposed use, the change of use is applicable only to a small part of the building. And we believe that the change of from offices to retail and offices is an important addition, because it's important for the survival of business owners and professionals who are in desperate need here of office space, affordable office and retail space. And they're the ones that service our village residents, especially with so many of these things going away. The neighboring property owners have expressed no objection to this, and they've submitted letters, which you have, that are in support of it. And the neighbor, I'm sorry?
Keep going.
Yeah, the neighbor immediately abutting this property, the one who would be the most impacted by this, has submitted one of those letters and specifically mentioned that he is in agreement with the retail use, and actually has expressed his impatience of beginning to start construction and get the eyesore out of the town. As I said, we made significant changes to reduce the size of the project, and by providing this type of additional space, the benefits for the applicant and the village far outweigh any of the minor detriment which granting this variance will cause to the general health, safety, and welfare of the village as a whole. Granting the variance, unfortunately, granting the variance is, the need for the variance is indeed self-created, but I believe that this does not preclude the board from granting the variances. Granting it will have no adverse impact, will not have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. We're installing the new IAO Watt septic system, leaders, gutters, runoff into dry wells, catch basins, and permeable surfaces and walkways, which I believe, Ms. Mead, you had requested in one of the previous hearings 100 years ago when we first presented this. So that has all been accomplished in the site. And also the existing landscaping, the permit that we currently have we went through with the ARB, and I forget the man's name, Mr. Gamalkar. I met with him at the site, and we devised a very, very elaborate landscaping plan, which would screen the parking lot from all angles, where it might intrude on one of the neighbors. In addition to that, there's a lighting plan, which I can show you that we had done. So all of the lighting is in the bare minimum for any impact to any outside of the property whatsoever. And I believe, in addition to that, with reference to the change of use from offices to retail, there was a very, very elaborate study that was done for the planning board. And the planning board, what we got back with that secret determination was that the parking trip generation was evaluated, and this conditional negative secret declaration was issued, provided that the proposed retail use be demonstrated to avoid significant traffic impacts and in a manner consistent with existing office use, which is relatively low traffic. And within the secret declaration, that it's conditioned upon a certain type of uses being provided at the site, and they can't be deviated from. So it's a very limited amount of space that's being devoted to retail, and the actual retail uses are likewise very, very limited. And they're limited by the secret negative declaration. And I have the site plan. I can show you where the pyramid impacts. Actually, the pyramid impacts the gas station, which is located next door to this building. So even though it is 980 something square feet, cubic feet, it's already been reduced from about 1,500 or 1,400, and any shadowing or impact would be on just it's a yard that's behind the gas station in one of the bays there. So it really doesn't have any adverse effect, or it has very little adverse effect.
Does anyone have any questions of the applicant before we open it to the public?
I have a question. Concerning you had indicated that the neighborhood or people in the neighborhood had no objections. And I have in my hand a number of objections to the building, and especially in terms of retail. Can you address that?
Bordering neighbor, I think you meant.
By all means, first of all, if I don't believe that I said that there was no objection, I said that I had letters from neighbors expressing support of it. Okay, if I said that, then I misspoke, and I didn't mean to. There certainly are people that have objected to it. However, the people that have sent letters, my adjoining, the actual abutting neighbors to the property, they're the ones who I believe would have the largest impact. And number two, they're the ones that have expressed support for the project.
Is that true in every case? Because I did understand the distinction you made originally. You were basically saying bordering neighbors versus the entire neighborhood. But is it true that however many bordering neighbors there are all of them in support, or some of them are and some of them aren't?
No, I haven't received from my bordering neighbors. Let me show you the letter that I've received.
Well, you don't need to do that, because we're familiar with the different letters. I just wanted your help understanding which neighbors are in support, and are they your bordering neighbors or are all of your bordering neighbors in support?
All of my bordering neighbors are in support. When you say bordering, I say
I mean,
what
they
I'm,
they
I
border the
mean
property.
abutting.
Abutting, that's what I mean.
Yeah. The
Abutting.
ones that are abutting the property are all in support. 2 of them have written letters indicating that support.
Okay, that's helpful.
Can I ask a question of the applicant? If we have different set of rules for granting approval for a change in a non-conforming use than we do for regular variances, and it speaks to the general neighborhood, not abutting property owners, and it requires us to affirmatively find the following: a change of use will not be the introduction of an undesirable use in the neighborhood. The owner is without any reasonable alternative. The owner's hardship is unique. The change of use will not cause or result in detriment of any kind to nearby properties. Again, it doesn't say adjacent. The owner's difficulty is not self-created. The grant of any change of use will not adversely affect the existing character of the area, and the new use will not be an intensification of use. These standards are quite different in many respects than normal variances. If you did not achieve your change from office to retail or the addition of retail, would you still be requesting the parking variance and the skyplane variance?
Oh, yes, they really don't have anything to do with it. The parking variance actually would, if that's why I'd like to show you, or if you could look at the site plan and look at the addition that I'm requesting, there's a small area in the back of it that looks like there's a connection from the existing building to the new building.
Yeah,
That none of that is going to be used for any office space or retail space. That is all open space. So that represents on 2 floors, approximately 690 square feet. There's 345 on each floor. If I were to essentially back that out, because you don't need to, you know what I'm saying? Right now, the way that they calculate the parking variance has to be from wall to wall. So it's the entire square footage of the building. That includes elevators, walkways, bathrooms, closets, the whole thing. So even without that, if I were to take out that 690 square feet, that represents 3 parking spaces. And if that were to be omitted, I wouldn't need an off-street parking variance.
Well, I guess my question though is if you did not achieve a retail use, would you move forward with the parking variance and the pyramid variance? In other words, if retail use was not, we could meet.
I don't know. I understand what you're saying. I don't know that I could answer that because the retail use on the ground floor creates there's a significant difference in revenue from the retail use versus the office use. Right. Which is important for the survival of the building.
I don't have any more questions at this time. Does any other board member?
well, no, I do have a few questions. Could you, and forgive me if I'm not understanding the math here, but in the letter that you included from December 10th that explains the parking variance request, you basically lay out how you're required based on the square footage, et cetera, to have 22 spaces. You only have 19, and therefore you're looking for a variance of 3, right? So I get that now.
Yes.
You're looking for a variance of 3 spots. But what is this one about is it just that you just literally don't have the room for those 3 within the parking area, which I can easily see looking at your diagram here. It's quite obvious why you have no more spaces. They look quite crowded in there to begin with. But then you mentioned this kind of one particular space where you can't back out onto Hampton Street. So is that just one of the 3 that's problematic? Or I'm not connecting the one that you can't back out from into Hampton Street with the 3 that you're looking for a variance on.
Okay. Where, how do I say this? Where on that analysis, it says the proposed provided of 19.
Yeah.
Those are the 19 spaces that actually appear on the site plan. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Prior to that, I had an additional space, but it required an additional curb cut.
Right.
And in addition to supplying me with the additional curb cut and additional parking space, it would have also provided easy access for the refuse removal. And I asked the department, because this is 114, it's a New York State road, I had asked the Department of Transportation if they would reconsider, because they told me that they didn't want to allow it, the curb cut onto 114, which
Right.
would have provided the additional parking space. Okay, so I escalated it within the Department of Transportation. I wrote Fred Thiel a letter. He asked them to reconsider it. We exhausted every possibility, and the New York State is not allowing it. They don't want anyone backing out onto a state road, even though it would only be for one car, and even though it would only be to pick up the garbage once a week in the back. They're just not allowing it.
Well, you're saying
So I had to remove it from the site plan. So instead of having 20 on-site spaces, I now only have 19.
I got you. So it's 20 versus 19. Okay, I got you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, could you just also remind me in terms of, because my main concern is the non-conforming use change from office to office and retail. Can you remind us again, the other existing retail that's in that immediate area that therefore would justify additional retail here as well? I know there's the garage, right? The gas
There's the
station.
garage with the convenience store.
Right.
There's another small retail place further up, and I don't know if you're looking for other retail establishments or other retail spaces to be in the immediate proximity to this to justify it, then I'm going to fall short in that justification, because I don't know that there are. And that was one of the reasons to request that this be changed, to allow not only for offices, but for offices and limited use retail. But I will say that the limited use retail that has, may I just find do you happen to have there so you can see it as well, the secret declaration?
Yes, we have it.
We have it.
Yeah.
It's
Alex,
specifically
can
what
I
retail is
just-
allowed.
There's the commercial, the retail at the gas station, then the next one closest thing is a retail space at the corner of Germain and 114,
Right.
which is a couple of blocks down, let's say. And those are the two that are, you could say, close. And that's it.
Right. Now, on this retail, the study that was done was to determine whether or not this was going to cause any increase in traffic or an intensification of parking or anything like that. And it came out, I could just read you this, but this negative declaration is specifically conditioned upon allowing only the following low traffic generating uses: furnishings, including furniture, apparel, and accessories, including clothes and jewelry, hardware, paint, hair salon, and offices, including medical and/or dental offices. So those are the limitations for the retail use on the ground floor. They certainly could be reconsidered if there were one that came up. Actually, I did have one that wanted a bicycle store there. They have the bicycle store in my building on Bay Street, and they're looking for additional space. But for purposes of this, of me proceeding, I chose to rescind that request and just move forward with what appeared on this negative declaration from SECRA.
Thank you very much. I think we should open it up to the public now if we don't have any more board questions. All right. Carrie?
Can you guys hear Dennis Downs?
No.
I heard a little voice a minute ago.
Dennis, can you talk?
Yeah, this is Dennis Downs. Can you hear me?
Barely.
Barely.
Barely?
Yeah. You sound like you're in a cellar.
Alex, can you hear me now?
See, we can, it's just, it's a little bit difficult.
You just muted me again, Carrie.
No, we can hear you. We could.
Maybe if Dennis were to call in, you'd be able to hear him?
We have a really long agenda tonight, so anything you could do to expedite this would be very helpful because we still have to hear from the public and they've waited.
Carrie, is there any way I can just send an email and then you could hand it to them?
We can hear you now.
Go ahead, Dennis, just
Oh,
talk
you
from,
can hear me now. All right, fine.
Yes.
Madam Chairwoman, the last time this case was on the calendar, the only thing that the zoning board needed to resolve was what retail uses they would allow. They deferred that to the planning board. The planning board came back with a report from Nelson, Pope, and Voorhees, and they allowed like 3 or 4, I believe, retail uses that would be permitted based on CEQA. And that's how we left it. And then the only other thing that was to be resolved was the rest of the variances all went away. So you had a limited role based on the deferral to the planning board.
We normally have to adjourn matters until the planning board finishes secret. They've now finished that. They've got their review done. So
We're on like 3 or 4 different retail uses. They looked at all the retail uses that we proposed and came back and said, items X, Y, and Z are no good. It requires too much parking or something of that nature. But the rest of them, they gave us a list of those that were permitted. And
we
that
understand.
was given to the ZBA. The ZBA was comfortable with it, but they had to renotice the whole case because there were certain things missing from the first notice.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been Murray trying to get in for the last hour.
Can we hear from the public, please? Carrie, do you want to call? We have 2 hands up right now.
okay, hold on one moment. Let me find them. Okay. Mrs. Carter, she's able to speak.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes. Have you been sworn in?
I have not. I was going to ask if I needed to be.
Yes. Is that your picture? You know, it's helpful to be able to see you raise your.
Oh, sure,
right.
I can do that. Sorry, it's been a long wait. Hold on a moment.
That's okay.
There we go.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank the zoning board for their questions, for being detailed and diligent. I wanted to make clear that as a homeowner in the neighborhood, only a few hundred feet, I'm at 153 Hampton, and have spoken to my neighbors scattered up and down Hampton Street. There is actually strong objection to the commercialization of that stretch of Hampton Street. Anyone who knows the street, and if there are neighbors present, I hope they'll speak up. They understand that this is as far as we've been able to maintain it, largely quiet residential area. The reason there were not several other businesses to name, indeed, is because there really are not any others. There is the gas station, which was a long fight that we feel that we've barely compromised on and have maintained some small quality of life, those who live nearby. But this addition and the commercialization of that stretch, I'm listening to the changes and the lowering and the adjusting, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an architect, I'm not a builder or a planner, but as a resident and a person who enjoys what we still have of Sag Harbor's character and what makes it different and unique in the area on the East End, this feels like chipping away at exactly the kind of limitations that the zoning board is part of the solution to fix and maintain. We need guardrails on this. These are, as was pointed out, largely self-inflicted. These are not hardships. These are decisions and choices that we can make to preserve or to not preserve the quiet, the dignity, the historic location that we have there. That will go away. And it will not be something we can go, oops, later and wish we could have done it differently or put back. It will be gone. I feel very, very, very strongly that the traffic and the parking and the commercialization of that area would be a grave error. And I'm hoping that that those who are more experienced and a greater sense of the codes and protections are able to defend it at that level. My voice is the voice of somebody whose personal quality of life will not be the same, will not be the quality that I love there, that the reason that we love living there. Yes, I want the village to survive. Yes, I want there to be jobs and services. We complain about that constantly, how far we have to go to get the things we need. But closer to the village and away from where people try to live and be quiet and have barbecues and let their children cross the road. These are the things we won't get back. So I'm hoping that the board will take that seriously, that other residents will speak up, and that the variances are there for a reason, the codes are there for a reason, and that we'll use our wisdom to help maintain at least a certain level, so that the commercial use, the retail use is really the big question. I mean, I think I appreciate Mr. Leffler's attempts to kind of stay on the inside, but this is still way above and beyond what that neighborhood can even support. I yield back. Sorry, I've never done this before. Thank you for your attention.
Any questions of the speaker? All right, next one. Elizabeth Gilbert has had her hand up for a while. I believe that's who it is. But her full last name is not on the screen.
Yes, thank you. I'm speaking for Safe Sag Harbor, the owner of 152 Hampton Street.
Could you, madam, you are not been put under oath. So
Oh, right. Sorry.
It'd be nice to see your right hand if we could.
Okay, 1 second. Let's see, lower hand. Here's the hand.
Tell the truth, the whole truth. So help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say that the other speaker was so articulate. I hope I can only be that good. The owner of 152 Hamptons, and I'm here for Safe Sag Harbor. The owner of 152 Hampton Street, the site of a large storage barn in the historic residential district, is seeking to intensify the current non-conforming use from warehouse office to office retail, and to construct a two-story addition representing a 1/3 increase in allowable lot coverage. The change to a requested 7 retail stores and parking for more than 20 cars is opposed by Safe Sag Harbor and by the residents because it is an intensification of a non-conforming use at the gateway to our village. It will increase the number and activity of cars and delivery vehicles and create a dangerous traffic situation in this already perilous area of 114. Thank you.
I just want to point out that you did hear the applicant say that the total lot coverage variance was approved in 2019.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Carrie, I can't see names, so I'm going to ask you to call on the next person. Well, I think Katie Plum has had her hand up.
Eileen Rosenberg and Kate Plum. They're both unmuted.
Okay, and have either one of you testified on this case before and been sworn in? You
I
still,
believe I have. Eileen Rosenberg.
okay, well, I guess we'll take you first. Proceed.
Thank you. And I would like to also comment or applaud Janine for stating some things that I think the community feels very strongly about. I this evening heard a couple of things that I've addressed the board before regarding this particular development. And this evening, a couple of comments from the owner of property were really, really hit home when he said it had a minor impact, adverse impact on our community. What it reminds me of is when you're getting some sort of procedure done and someone tells you it's a minor thing. It's only minor because it's not happening to you. And I think the vast majority of residents in the area really strongly object to this particular development. The other comment that was relatively new for this evening was that for the owner, it comes down to, I think, a reduction in revenue without the retail. This is something that he had to be aware of going into purchasing this property. Unless he anticipated that he would get approval, this is something that he should have known. So it was indeed a self-created issue. And as such, I don't think it has a lot of validity. I'm sorry that the revenue would be decreased, but I don't think it's a reason to disrupt historic and residential area. The other things that I've commented on were traffic, noise, pollution from trucks, etc. Those have been repeatedly pointed out by, I believe, many, many neighbors. And it is not a question of impacting the people right next to this development. This impacts the entire community. Again, not a minor adverse effect. Thank you.
For the record, could you state your residential address for us?
10 Carver Street and 36 Lighthouse Lane. I'm around the corner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Katie Plum was next.
Yes, good evening. And I raised my right hand and to
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
so help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I live at 33 Richards Drive, which is in the neighborhood of what we're talking about. I used to live right across the street from the old Harbor Heights, you know, in Dolores Farrell's house years ago. And and all of that went on during that time too, with the oil spill over there originally. And then with the mobile station, the transition to the mobile station. And we worked long and hard to make sure that that situation didn't exceed the demands of the area or what we need, you know. And I think this is another situation where, as people who speak much more eloquently than I have, both Eileen and Janine, about this area, you know, when I leave to go to East Hampton, for instance, up along Hempstead Street and make a left turn or a right turn in the summer, I can wait 10 minutes there before I can get into the flow of traffic. And there's no other way, you know, if I'm going to go to East Hampton to get out. And I just feel that this project is too big. I would be more aligned to it if I could see that there was some kind of affordable housing in that building, but whatever, if the zoning doesn't allow it at the moment, but we're changing the zoning, it seems to me. And to me, that would be a redeeming feature. The landlord also said he's putting an IA system in, and that's an interesting, applaud that situation as well. But I just don't see that building has been there the way it is for so long, and to increase it by the third or something, and not have something giving back to the village, having place affordable housing, some of that upstairs for affordable housing. I think it's going to be a lost opportunity, and I wouldn't want to see it. I wouldn't want to see the further intensification of this neighborhood. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate all, all the work everybody does to try to keep Sag Harbor as as quaint as possible. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We have one more hand raised, I believe.
We have two. We have a Michael and a Jerry.
Could you, Michael?
Yep, Michael, you can go ahead and talk.
Has he been sworn in before?
No.
I have not.
And where are you?
You should be able to see me. I have unmuted and unlocked the camera.
Here he is right here. We can only see your ceiling.
You have to point the camera at you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We're looking at your ceiling. But in the interest of time, could you raise your right hand and pull your camera down at the same time so we can swear you in?
Oh, I see what the problem is. I'm sorry. Now you should be able to see me.
And
can you? Yes. Okay. So.
I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I will speak briefly because I think that all the people before me have very eloquently stated my own feelings, which is that this area is a residential area, a historic area, and I am concerned, very concerned by the effect that turning this building at 152 into offices and retail places would have on the quality of life in the neighborhood. So I just wanted to bring my voice to this and just state it. Now, you may hear from my accent that I am French. I'm also American. I'm an American citizen. But maybe that I have also a slightly, how could I say, a little bit different view on Sag Harbor than probably all of you have. I came to this country because I got married with my wonderful wife 36 years ago, and her family lived in Sag Harbor, and there's a long tradition in her family of residing in Sag Harbor. I have been very much exposed through her mother, who was the president of the historical society, the Eastville Society, Historical Society, to the relevance and the importance of the roots of Sag Harbor, the history of Sag Harbor, and the culture of Sag Harbor. And I don't think that allowing this building, at least I have strong doubt, to put it absolutely fairly, that allowing this building to become what is proposed would go in the direction of the spirit of Sag Harbor and the spirit of that area in particular.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have questions for the speaker? And could you state your address, please?
Sure, I'm right in front of it, 153.
Thank you. That's 153 Hamilton Street.
Hampton.
Hampton Street,
Hampton,
yes.
sorry.
Right across, yes.
My mistake. Okay, we have three more speakers. Actually, 4. Can you all make your remarks as direct and on the point as you possibly can? Let's call on Luther Clark, who I can't see.
Good evening. I'm Camille Clark. Luther and I live at 10 Beach Avenue in Sag Harbor Hills.
I have to swear you in, please.
Okay.
Can you come back on?
Jeez. I think I'm here now.
You are.
I lost you. Okay. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
There you are. Okay.
I'm deeply concerned about the proposed 152 Hampton Street commercial project regarding the impact on the Sands community and the adjacent neighborhoods. Simply put, safety and mobility are jeopardized due to the induced traffic that will result from the commercial enterprise envisioned for this location. Briefly, these are some of the issues. Currently, Route 114 Hampton Street has traffic problems which have caused choked streets in the summer and dangerous speeding at other times of the year between Sands and the nexus of the Wharf, Main Street, and Route 114. During the 2021 Sag Harbor mayoral campaign, this issue was raised by Sands residents. The candidates were asked directly, what would they do to facilitate traffic calming? And what would they do to address speeding traffic? Safety is paramount. Given the project's proximity to the Sag Harbor Elementary School located at 68 Hampton Street and the nearby designated bike lane on Hampton Street. More traffic will not create safer conditions, and more cars and more trucks making deliveries to retailers will not make it safe. Last summer, there was a serious traffic accident that closed Route 14 in the vicinity of Sands for several hours. Has anyone studied car crashes on Route 114? Also, the village or ZBA requested or conducted a traffic analysis regarding the impact of increased commercial development on the surrounding neighborhoods, specifically including 152 Hampton Street. The mix of goods and services proposed for the project is not essential to our community. It is unclear why variances are necessary in light of the adverse impact on Sands. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Alan Harvey.
You swear to, right hand up, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do. I'll make my comments very brief. I oppose this project for all the reasons stated before: the traffic, the neighborhood, the impact. That's it.
Could we have your address, please, for the record?
31 Carver.
Thank you. Sarah Gage.
Sarah?
Here I am.
Have you spoken before on this matter?
No, I have not.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, your truth, nothing but the truth?
I do, so help me God.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I'll be very brief as well. I had not planned to speak this evening, but I must say, I agree with everything, all the other objections, mainly the traffic that this would cause would be horrific. It already is at times. It's impossible to get onto Route 114 in the summertime. I think this would be a travesty to allow this kind of retail business. This sounds like a strip mall to me. This would be in a historic and residential area of our village. Thank you very much.
Sarah, did you state your address for the record?
I live at 10 James Place. I'm right up the hill from this property.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Arthur?
Yes.
Have you testified before on this case?
I have not.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
In the interest of being direct, I would like to point out, and I think Ms. Carter did initially, that there is little neighborhood support for this development and for this project. I heard the applicant indicate he had letters or a letter. There is little neighborhood support for this project. Secondly, there is pedestrian traffic along that street. There has been pedestrian traffic along that street for decades. As a 10-year-old, I walked to Havens Beach from my address at 41 Robeson Boulevard. For decades, I have walked to the village along that street. This project, if developed, will be dangerous to pedestrian traffic. And development for development's sake is not tenable at this location. It will be dangerous to pedestrian traffic. It will cause danger and difficulty and a choke for vehicular traffic. There is no good and reasonable basis for such a development in this neighborhood. There is no neighborhood support. I strike that. Little, very little neighborhood support for this project. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more speaker, I believe.
Alice?
Yes, hi. I will. Oh, I'll swear myself in. Yes.
Okay.
I agree, tell the truth. So help me God.
Thank you.
Very short. I am in opposition to this development. I live at 19 Liberty Street, which is perpendicular to the gas station. And I am in full support of all of the other people who have testified here today about concerns about the historic character of the neighborhood and also concerns about pedestrian traffic and people walking. And I am one who does like to walk along 114th Street to town. And that's one of the draws to the neighborhood of 19 Liberty Street is that it is walkable to town, and many, many people do that. So I am absolutely, for all the reasons we've cited before, that have been cited before, in opposition to this development. Thank you.
Could we have your address, please, for the record?
19 Liberty Street.
I thought so. Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
Madam Chairwoman, this is Stephen Leffler again. I'd just like to respond just to a couple of things that was said so that I can set the record straight. First of all,
Stephen, there is one more.
Go
Sorry.
Go right ahead. I'll wait.
I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and not the truth, but the truth is help me God.
And could you give us your name and address?
Yes, Gary Maslanka. I am at 6 Carver Street. Not in the immediate vicinity, but close enough. I bike and I walk all the time on that road, and this would make a difference. But I'm actually most upset, or what this will do to the immediate people around is significant. And I think for the change in their lives, what this will mean for their quality of life is, I care about that, and would, just because it's not happening, changing the quality of life for all of us, it significantly would change the quality of that immediate neighborhood. And we don't need this retail there. We don't need it. If we needed it, that's something else we might have to consider, but I don't think we do. Thank you very much for your time.
I think that's it. So, Stephen?
I would just like to address the number of items that were brought up that may be somewhat erroneous or misunderstood. First of all, the issue regarding affordable housing, I actually have worked a little bit with Mr. Ed Hay, who's a trustee, regarding the affordable housing project. And the big drawback or the big snafu with affordable housing is not the village, is not my property, is not property. It happens to be the Suffolk County Department of Health Services wastewater flow density. With reference to the size of the property, because it's not connected to the sewer. So that is the biggest drawback with affordable housing. My particular piece of property on 152 Hampton Street would be totally unacceptable for affordable housing, because according to the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, accommodate one residence.
Okay.
The second thing is with reference to, I know and you all care about Sag Harbor, and so do I. I'm not saying that you care more. All I'm saying is that I've been in Sag Harbor since 1953, and I've seen a lot of changes. I have built beautiful things. I built the building at 34 Bay Street and converted it from a falling down garage. And now it's a very, very prestigious, beautiful building that no one has said anything bad about. So I can only promise you that if I am approved, you'll be very happy with the structure that goes there, as well as the tenants that go there. That's
I
all.
don't
Thank
think
you.
anybody is stating anything but you've been a great citizen of Sag Harbor. We just have an obligation here to make findings on several of these items, and the public has spoken, and I want to ask Liz if we do have to renotice this.
So we should adjourn this and keep it open so that it can be renoticed for the next meeting to account for the 3 parking spaces variance that was not noticed previously.
Okay. Do I have a
Should be
motion?
adjourned.
Do I have a motion to adjourn this to the next CBA meeting?
I think
Can I-
Jerry has one more question. It looks like we have somebody's hand raised.
No, sorry, that was a mistake. I didn't take it down.
Okay, thank you.
So,
We're
Madam
keeping the
Madam
public hearing.
Chairwoman, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
Which is, because we're adjourning it, we have to notice it again. Will our next meeting be the best opportunity for board members to weigh in and kind of indicate their feelings about this, which is what we often do even before we make a decision, just to kind of weigh in on behalf of, or for the benefit of the applicant, to kind of give them a straw poll as to kind of what we're thinking, or should we wait and do that next time?
Liz?
You should do it next time, because the parking variance has to be noticed. And then people can be heard on that if they haven't been aware that there's a parking variance for 3 spaces. I don't think it will have much, impact on the speakers and what they had to say tonight. And that goes on both sides, but it still is a technicality that has to be done. So I'd appreciate if you'd wait until the next meeting.
Sure.
Just
Yeah,
so the record-
we've spent plenty of time on this as well, so that's good reason to move on.
Do I have a motion?
So moved, Alex.
Second, Scott.
Second, and it's to adjourn it to the next CBA meeting. And what date is that, please? Carrie, do you know?
The next meeting is March 15th.
Right. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Carrie, I believe we're on new business, are we not?
Yeah, we made it.
Okay. The order has changed from the original agenda. The first.
So I just got a phone call from Dennis Downs. He is having technical difficulties. So we're gonna open the public hearing for 25 Liberty and then table it.
What?
Okay. Do we have a motion to open it?
Before we do, can I just point out that we never finished 254 Hampton.
Oh, I'm
Street.
terribly sorry. You're absolutely correct. We do have to hear from 254 Hampton first.
Oh, so then
Thank
we
you,
did
Alex.
business.
Hello?
Do we have the applicant?
Yes.
Thank you very much for being so patient, and I'm sorry I
worries.
took over you.
That's okay. I appreciate your time. So in the interim, with regards to the statement that's on the set of plans, directly from the modular company stated to me that the modular company sometimes adds a note on their plans explaining that the final elevation of the home might differ from the modular drawings. This is because the modular companies only design and stamp the product that is being delivered by the modular company, such as the home. Because clients sometimes offer add things to the modular units, such as porches and decks, custom garages, doors, etc., this note is needed. Any construction being added onto the modular units will then need its own separate stamped drawings and must be submitted alongside the modular plans. That is why they state what they stated on the plans that is not on architectural stepped plans. So it's based upon if the client of the modular is adding porches or decks, that then will need a separate plan stamped and go along with as a side-by-side. That's why they say that. The second question, which is the first floor elevation, is actually on the set of a survey which was stamped by the health department, which I'm not sure, I believe that the board said that they didn't have something. The first floor elevation is actually 100.5. So if you don't have that particular survey, it is actually marked within the survey of the health department that was given on 9/3/2021, and I can furnish the board with that.
What we're asking for is the first floor elevation, but also the elevation of the site at the property
Right.
line.
Now it's on.
That's on the health department application?
Yes, it is on all four corners, correct. Yes, it is. And I can furnish that, be more than happy to email that, or I can drop it off, whichever you prefer.
That needs to be tied to the pyramid drawing that you've submitted.
I understand.
So that the elevation and the relationship between the grade elevation and the first floor are correct in scale.
Right. I understand. So we will have to supply that with you. And I can supply that right away.
Okay.
We have to hold this case under advisement until we have it.
I understand. I'll get that to you right away.
All right.
And hopefully the board can give us the next available meeting.
That would be March 15th.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to adjourn this one until the next meeting?
So move, Hamel.
And
A second, Scott.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
All right, new business, One Liberty. Do I have a motion to open?
So moved. Alex?
Second, Joe.
And I believe this is to be adjourned to March 15th. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Before we adjourn it, can I ask a question of Liz? We had, there was an email sent out about the pyramid.
I'm gonna have to refer that to the building inspector.
Okay, I just wondered if you had had any word back yet.
Not yet. I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay. A motion to adjourn to the 15th again, please.
So move.
Alex, second.
All right, Ham and Alex.
Motion.
Ham and Alex seconded. All right, thank you very much. And that's unanimous, and it's going to be scheduled for March 15th. All right, 18 Meadowlark Lane is the second new case. Do I have a motion to open?
I so moved, Scott.
All right, second.
Joe, second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Not opposed. Is the applicant here?
I am here.
We need to swear you in.
I'm an attorney.
Okay. Then we don't have to swear you in.
Correct.
Would you like to go ahead and present?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I don't know if you needed to read the notice. As stated, I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Brian Midlam, for the property located at 18 Meadowlark Lane. Property is currently improved with a single-family dwelling. The lot size is 7,492 square feet, located in the R20 zoning district. The applicant is proposing a new single-family two-story dwelling proposed with the IA septic system and a proposed swimming pool. As stated on the notice, we are here for both lot coverage of 132 square feet and a pyramid relief of 1,575.69 cubic feet. With your approval, I can go ahead and show. Is it helpful for me to show the elevations, or do you have them all in front of you?
I think it's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I have them up, so assuming it works. Are you looking at the elevations?
Yes.
Right. It's also worth noting that the existing house there now is non-conforming with the side yard setback. It's approximately 10 feet from the property line where 15 is required. And there's a deck off the rear that's even closer to the property line. This is along the northern property line. I'm not sure of the current pyramid infraction, if any, but we are removing the nonconformity of the side yard setback. And the proposed house, as shown here, does meet the required side yard setback. I'll go ahead and show you so this is the northern elevation. This is where the bulk of the sky plane is pierced. The applicant and kind of what is driving this is it's a family, 3 young kids, family of 5 looking to build a modest size 4-bedroom home to accommodate their family with a basement. And this house was before the ARB, and this design was approved. So they did feel that it was within the character of the neighborhood. But after some further considerations, factors such as depth of groundwater, there was a slight lifting of the house that was needed, and that's what created this existing pyramid infraction, which I view when looking at it in its totality is not as large as it may look at the number on paper. You can see it's just a small fraction of the northern elevation that it pierces the sky plane. The house is under the permitted allowable height. And then there's also on the southern side a minor dormer infraction, and as well as a small dormer infraction here. And then the lot coverage, again, we're only looking for 132 square feet, 1.8%. So it would certainly be, I would consider a minor variance. The property applicant is proposing an IA septic system as well as the appropriate draining with dry well. So we are bringing improvements to the property from stormwater runoff and any nitrogen seeping into the system. Again, this has gone before the ARB, so we do not view that's going to have a negative impact on the property. Given this current design, there is no other feasible alternative to situate this house on this lot. It's a narrow lot, 65 feet wide. The applicant did the best he could to design where it does meet all required setbacks with the exception of the minor pyramid infraction. I do not feel, or we do not feel it'll have any negative impact on the environment. If anything, it's going to better improve the system, as it's going to have better adequate stormwater runoff for drainage, as well as the IA septic system, as I noted. And this, I mean, you can argue this is self-created in that this design is what's leading to it. But again, as noted before in many other applications, that should not be the limiting factor on whether or not you can approve a variance. So in its totality, I think the applicant has done what he can to provide for a modest home on a small lot that's in, met the standard of the ARB, and it's going to accommodate his, growing family with 3 young children. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a couple of questions.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me what the groundwater is?
Let's see if it's on the survey. I don't know, but I know that we meet the required separation with this plan.
But that's the cause for raising it, correct?
Correct. Because again, it's a family with young children, so they were trying to have a full-size finished basement that could have some recreational space for them beyond the bedrooms.
Yeah,
so
but that's not something that's relevant to this proceedings, the number of kids in the recreational space. Sorry.
No, but it's a benefit to the applicant that I would view outweighs any negative impact to the neighborhood, but duly noted. But
okay. Scott, do you have any questions? I I have more.
Well, there were two things that I thought of. One is, have you explored making the house even just a foot narrower? Because that would probably pull the bulk of that roof
Yep.
out of the pyramid variance. The other thing is that it's a 12 and 12 pitch, but if it were a 10 and 12 pitch or an 11 and 12 pitch, it would also pull the house more out of the pyramid violation without really changing the design. I mean, nobody's going to know that it's not 12 and 12, it's 11 and 12. You know what I mean? There are certain things that probably could be explored to reduce the number a bit, because the number is big for a new built house. It's not, you're starting from scratch.
Understood.
That's a good comments.
I can certainly discuss that with the applicant. Again, I mean, he's gone through extensive design already, going for the ARB. So,
well, it wouldn't necessarily change the character or the design of the house. It's just
right
modifying the roof.
Understood. It's just the cost and percent hardship, but understood, duly noted. I'll certainly bring that back to the applicant.
We're charged with minimizing the variances.
Yep, absolutely.
And I don't know if there are any other ideas that the architect could come up with. It doesn't look like you could push, sometimes we can reduce the plate height on the second floor and push the roof down. In your plans, it doesn't look like that's feasible because you're already at 7 foot something at the walls, the exterior walls of, say, the bedrooms. And so I don't know. That doesn't seem to be a feasible thing to do in this case. But perhaps adjusting the roof slope a little bit would, you might cut out, I don't know, 500 square feet of violation or something.
Any other comments from the board before we open it up to the audience?
Yeah, I have one. It's concerning the neighborhood and the character of the houses in the neighborhood. Many of the houses are it's small lots and are 1 story, and I'm concerned about the neighbors in the area, and they're concerned for the extent of the house and the size of the house.
Understood.
Do you have any letters of support from the neighbors?
Do not have any letters of support. I know there were 2 letters in opposition that we had received from Carrie earlier today.
Okay.
Which I believe the applicant was going to reach out to at least one of the neighbors to discuss, because he had approached him at the beginning of this process. And the points he had noted, with respect to the equipment, those equipment do meet the setback of 10 feet. So while it is certainly a concern and the applicant's happy to explore, minimal sound, attenuating devices and whatever other screening and, factors you can implement to make sure he reduces that as he's required to in the code, he certainly will. But, those are not things we're here before you for. And then, he did have a comment on the sky plane, which we had discussed. And, it's northern elevation. It's going to have a minimal impact, in my opinion, on the way it impacts the sunlight, because the sun sets east to west over the house. But nonetheless, it is a pyramid infraction.
Any other questions of the board before we open?
And the applicant may be on the call and may wish to add a few comments when you do open it up, Mr. Midlam. So I'm not sure if he was able to join or not.
Carrie, are there any hands raised? I don't see any.
I don't see
Oh,
any.
yes,
hands.
there's one. Okay.
I don't see anybody.
No, oh, yes, you're right. I don't either. Well, my suggestion, and I need to hear from the rest of the board members if they agree, is that we hold this case so that the applicant has the opportunity to explore the 1 foot reduction that Scott mentioned, or a change of the pitch of the roof.
I see a speaker.
I think there was one hand up
Yep.
for Cunningham.
Yes, my name is.
Can you, I have to swear you in, please, and could you state your name and address?
Oh, his actual hand was up, not, I was looking for the blue hand, sorry.
Your name and address, please.
My name is David Cummings. I live at 14 Meadowlark Lane in Sag.
Sag Harbor. And can you put your right hand up and swear you in? I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
I swear to tell the whole truth, so help me God, yes.
Thank you.
I live at 14 Meadowlark Lane, so I'm the house right by Mr. Midlam, 30 feet away. I wrote a letter, and I hope you all received it. I can read the letter to you if you'd like.
We received it. I read it.
You did receive it.
Yeah,
I read it.
yes, we all read it.
So you're right. I mean, my house is a one-story cottage, and that house, by comparison, although it's a modest house by some standards, will be looming over my house, and I am concerned about the loss of light and noise issues. And as I said in my letter, Meadowlark Lane, the elevations go up as you go south, and that house is 2 stories, but it will be an additional height because of the elevation. And I am also concerned about the noise with the equipment that is going to be on that side, because I had issues with the previous owner who put a generator without a ZBA approval, and it was very difficult. So that's just some of my concerns.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Then I would suggest that we entertain a motion to hold this case until March 15th, so that the 2 options or the 2 ideas that Scott had to reduce the variances could be explored. Is there anybody?
So moved.
A second?
I second Scott.
And Scott,
If there's a hand up, I'm sorry. I just spotted it.
Brian Midlam, the owner.
The applicant. Would you like to say anything before we take a vote? Okay.
He's
You have to unmute. Unmute.
Brian, you just have to unmute. I'm requesting it now.
Saying he's unable to unmute. He just texted me.
I'm asking him to unmute.
Okay.
so. Yeah, I'm asking him. He's not, I don't know.
Well,
if he's having a problem.
the hearing's going to be open, so if he wants to testify in March, there's another opportunity.
Maybe I can
I'm going to
get
ask someone I'll call the motion. We have a first and a second to adjourn until March 15th. Ham made the motion, Scott seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're off to number 3 on our new business agenda. It's 8 Dartmouth Road. Do I have a motion to open?
Thank you all.
Who made the motion, please?
Motion to open.
Okay, and a second?
I second Scott.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I finally figured it out. It's too late, huh?
I don't know who that is, but this is Tiffany Scarlato on behalf of the applicant Madel LLC, 45 Division Street, Sag Harbor. And I would just be asking, we did receive something from the building department today that changes our application a little bit. So I'll be asking the board to table this until next month.
And do I have a motion to table this?
So moved.
moved.
Alex.
Second, Scott.
Thank you.
And
All in
maybe let
favor?
that, aye, sorry.
Aye.
And
Aye.
that former applicant is now available, so maybe before he disappears, we can let him speak.
We,
18
you.
Meadowlark Lane.
One moment. Can I ask
Third.
a question of our lawyer? Do we need to reopen it to do that?
Did you, you already adjourned it, so yes, you need to reopen it to,
Does someone want to make a motion to reopen?
So
Make a
moved,
motion
Alex.
to reopen. Scott.
And so moved.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Damon, I need to swear you in. If it's Damon.
it's
Where'd you go?
Brian.
Brian.
Brian, where are you?
I think he got off.
Oh,
Oh, after all that?
after all. Okay, do I have a motion to, do I have a motion to close the hearing and adjourn it to March 15th?
Yes, again, yes.
Okay,
Aye,
Scott,
second, Scott.
Al, oh, there he is.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Oh,
he's
no.
back. Oh, come on. Are we gonna do this 3 times? That's crazy.
We haven't approved it. Okay, you want to raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, so help you God?
Who are you guys talking to? Scott Francis is not the
Oh, I'm
owner.
sorry. There are no names once the picture comes up. I apologize. So
Yes.
we have a motion on the floor to adjourn it to March 15th. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Scott Francis is regarding 8 Dartmouth, but did you guys already make a motion to close that to the 15th?
We did.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's,
Okay, we're on Maritime Properties and we need a motion to open, I believe, although we did, yeah, we need a motion to open it. And I believe Scott is recusing himself. Is that
I'm
correct?
recusing myself,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm disappearing.
Bye.
Bye.
We have a motion to open, please.
So move.
Second.
Second.
And who made the second? Thank you. Do we have a presenter?
Hi, my name is John Tarbett. Can you hear me?
Yes, are you a lawyer?
I am a lawyer. Yep.
All right.
So we this is for an application which about a year and a half ago, excuse me, about a year and a half ago, it had planning board approval for a pool, and the applicant had recently decided to just redesign the pool. So we're going to go back to the planning board, and at that time, we also decided that we should try to look at the pool equipment from not in the basement of the house, but instead to under a porch, which is completely enclosed with brick wall. But by relocating the pool equipment, it would need a variance. So we submitted to this board for a variance for the pool equipment. And at that time, the building inspector told us that it may also need a variance as a pool in a village business district. I'm not so sure that's the case, because that same table in the code does specifically permit any customary accessory structure in the code. I think the intent of prohibiting pools in village business districts was when they were by themselves. Regardless, we decided that the better course would be to ask for the variance. So again, this project essentially has, I said planning board, I meant to say harbor protection approval. And we will be going back to them just for a slight design modification of the pool. Basically the stairs flipping from one side to the other. But we are requesting at this point 2 variances from you. One is to relocate the pool equipment from an area that was in the basement of the house to an area that is instead under the porch in a brick enclosure, and potentially asking for a variance to locate a pool in a village business district.
I have a question.
Sure.
The first one is, Liz, do you agree with the interpretation that a pool is allowed?
No, I agree with the building inspector who
Right.
made the interpretation. He's the one that makes the interpretation, not me. that the pool is not permitted in the village. Are we in village business? I think we're in village business. So
We are in village business.
it specifically says a private accessory uses in the use code. It says private swimming pools are prohibited in village business. So that's why he made that determination.
And do we know of any others that have ever been approved or requested?
That I don't know. We'd have to look.
So there is, the village, excuse me, the village business district, as you know, is relatively small. There is one other residential, we're a residential property. There's not very many residential properties that are solely dedicated to a residential use. 171 Main Street would be a property, just looking at aerial photographs, that would have a pool in the backyard of a residential property in a commercial zone. Another odd thing with this property is that there's a fair amount of houses, close to 20, between Riceham, Rector, and Burke, and that whole triangle in there. And only 3 of them are actually zoned commercial. And I think they were zoned commercial because of their pre-existing uses at that time. As you know, this property used to be a bait store. However, the rest of the properties are all residential. So it's not really changing the character of the neighborhood as all 20 properties within that triangle are zoned residential, except for what was 3 pre-existing uses and now is 2 because, as you know, this property was a couple of years ago completely converted over to a residential use from what had been a part residential and part commercial use.
You mentioned 171 Main. Does it have a pool?
It does. Yes, it does.
And was there a variance associated with that? Does anyone know? Carrie? No.
Well, I'm sorry, Susan, what was your question?
My question was 171 Main Street is in Village Business District according to the applicant's attorney, and I would like to know if that received a variance for a pool.
Well, let me look.
And then I have one other question. The thing that troubles me most about this application is location of the pool equipment. Why did you decide to try to move it? Because now we have a setback variance.
Yeah, only because there's the porch is unusual, and I'd be happy to show it to you. It's obviously wood steps going up to a second floor, but the base of it is all enclosed in brick. So what we thought was that this by putting it in this otherwise empty, I guess empty is the best way to describe it, area under the porch, it would be very soundproof by being surrounded by brick, similar to how it would be in the basement. It would just allow for a much easier access for someone to come in and also safer access for someone to come and service it. I don't think there's any.
But the basement would not require variance.
It would not require a variance. It just we just thought this was a safer and there'd be no detriment. I mean, obviously the street creates a lot more noise than this pool equipment could ever. Both streets, it's got two streets that this pool equipment could ever hope to emit from behind the brick wall.
Does anyone else have any questions of the applicant? Okay. I'm going to turn to the audience. I see one hand up. It's Myrna Davis. Carrie, are you with us? Can you
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Myrna.
Okay. I start the video. Okay.
Hand up. Do you swear to tell the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm at 26 Rector Street, just next to it. 20 Bay Street is the site of an oversized and non-conforming residence in the Village Business District. It's my understanding that the law leans toward non-conforming uses eventually going away. Now the owner is seeking to intensify its current non-conforming use with the addition of a pool, the construction of which is prohibited by code in the business district. Granting this variance will set an undesirable precedent in the business district. Also sought is an area variance for half the required setback for pool equipment. Granting an area variance for a pool will set an undesirable precedence in the surrounding residential neighborhood, which consists of very small parcels, none of which currently have pools. Now I'd like to speak on behalf of Save Sag Harbor. Save Sag Harbor supports the code and denial of this application and of the application of 152 Hampton Street. No single application seems a major threat to Sag Harbor's historic scale and character, but one by one approvals are death by 1,000 cuts. The Zoning Board of Appeals is required by statute, as Susan said, to grant variances only to property owners suffering unique hardships that are not self-created and whose proposals would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood. Neither appeal meets these conditions. Save Sag Harbor supports the ZBA in adhering to the code and denying the applications. Thank you.
So Lisa, I have a question. What standard do we use on approval of a pool?
The same 5-part test. But I have to say, John, if you could submit the address that you thought was VB with the pool, because I don't see that. I
Yeah,
can see
I don't-
VB ending earlier than that address, any of the addresses with pools on that end of Main Street. So maybe you can submit the one you're thinking of and just double check that it's actually VB.
Yeah, I did. I can submit it to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I could just point out quickly, Liz, if at the same time, if you could take a look, and I should have called you ahead of time, I apologize for not. I actually didn't realize it until tonight when I was looking at it. But that same section of the code which prohibits swimming pools in VB districts, it's under the label accessory uses, and it actually specifically permits any customary accessory use unless otherwise prohibited by the village code. So my best guess is what they were saying was that they didn't want anybody to put a private pool on a VB property without a main residence there. That was, I couldn't think of any reason why it would otherwise be called out separately. I'll submit a letter along with my reasoning on that, as well as the 171 Main Street property.
Does the board have any questions of the applicant or the speaker?
I do. So one question I have, and I'm sure there's a good explanation for this, but I am curious, just kind of looking at the survey, the existing lot coverage and building coverage is way in excess, if I'm reading this correctly, of what the village limits are. And so I'm curious, is this pool replacing some removed structure or fixed patio or something that would allow this to be a no net increase in lot coverage? Because right now the lot coverage, I'm not mistaken. Oh, wait a minute, maybe I'm misreading it, but it looks like the lot coverage, permitted lot coverage was 6,098. So I got confused by the 70%.
Correct, yeah. It would be, it's approximately 20% less than what we permitted. For
okay, so you're already under the limits.
Right. It's because it's commercial zoning.
Because it's commercial zoning. But that's.
Liz, I apologize. I keep calling it 171. It's 117. I reversed the numbers. Sorry.
Mhm.
Because it's commercial zoning, but it's a private residence. And so a private residence in a commercial zone, just confirming with Liz, gets to obviously take advantage of the commercial lot coverage limits.
Check with the building inspector and see whether that's the case. It was probably pre-existing non-conforming, the lot coverage, which was allowed to continue.
Right. Yeah, well, there's been a lot of new construction in that building over the last couple of years, and it seems to me visually bigger than it used to be. But I am curious about that because
Have them check the lot
that's the
coverage.
case, then I'm going to petition the village to make my home in a commercial zone as well. That would make my life a lot easier. No, I'm kidding, but I am noticing that it's already covering quite a lot of the buildings itself, so.
I have a question. Was this home ever commercial?
So the answer is yes. Well, I should say the home as it was recently renovated, no. Historically, the property did have a commercial use. It was a bait and tackle store, among maybe a few other things.
And when was it converted to a residence?
Maybe 15 years ago. Potentially a little longer.
Gotcha.
It's mixed use.
Did that have a variance at that time to go from commercial to residence?
No, the property was allowed, the code, so the house as it looks right now was approved by this board, as well as the Harbor Protection ARB board, maybe 3 years ago now. And it did not need a variance at that time. The code has since changed, but the conversion, when the conversion happened, it did not require a variance.
Any other questions?
Well, I'm still confused because you're telling me that a variance was accepted to go from commercial to residence?
No, a variance was not needed. The variance was not needed at the time the conversion was done. However, this board did review the house that recently got built for other reasons, probably about 3 years ago.
I'd like to know when that was because I was on the board then. I have no recollection of this. It was my understanding this structure was built as a matter of right and there were no variances. Marna, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I questioned that because the first time they went to the board, the ZBA, they requested variances and the project was turned down. And in fact, and it was turned down by the ARB as well. And they came back over the year and they dropped the variance. So the only board that went to was the ARB. And after they got approval, I did ask the building inspector whether a use variance shouldn't be required because just the year before in that first application, it was described as mixed use. And
well, we can't revisit the history.
Just saying, I never heard of an approval for the use change, just that Liz Vale felt that it wasn't necessary because it had been lived in, albeit illegally.
Liz, I believe it was Denise.
Wait a minute, Liz Vale, because I'm Liz Vale, and I don't recall ever making an opinion about that.
I have that from the building inspector that you told him that.
I think it was Tom Priata and Denise Shern.
No, it wasn't.
Hey,
I was not the village attorney at the time that happened, ma'am.
You all, I hate to sort of say that this is not relevant, but it isn't.
Right.
Okay,
So,
but you were just asking, so I mean, I
understand. Can we, are there any other questions of the applicant?
They have been in front of the ZBA before. They do have a decision.
And when was that, Carrie?
Let me get it and I'll tell you in 1 minute.
And was it denied?
It was all approved. The house that's there, we built the house with ZBA approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just have no recollection and I was on the board 3 years ago.
So I could have my, time flies when you
Having fun?
you're having fun. It might have been 4 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long, but it could have been.
The application was submitted in 2017. I'm just trying to find the actual decision right now for you.
Like 5 years ago. regardless of whether, while Liz is, or Carrie's looking for that, regardless of whether my interpretation of the code is correct or wrong, I think the issue is whether anybody can perceive any detriment to adding a pool to a property that's been residential for 15 to 20 years, that otherwise meets setbacks and applicable zoning. I couldn't think of any, which is why I went back to the code tonight and I was looking at it, I actually spent a fair amount of time trying to figure out why anybody would prohibit a pool on a property where there's a house. And that's why I got to my point of thinking that's when I saw that actually that same section of the code specifically permits accessory structures unless otherwise prohibited by the code. Not this section, but the actual code 300. Yeah, I just couldn't think of any reason why a pool would harm, especially in this neighborhood where all 20 properties in that triangle are residential.
We have another person who's raised their hand.
Kate Plum.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, but what about the flooding issue?
You're not, Kate, you're not under oath for this case.
Okay, sorry.
Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
I was just wondering about the question of the flooding, because the water goes right up, the ramp there, the public ramp, and that's the Harbor Committee that deals with that issue. Okay.
Not us. Since we're going to hold this under advisement so that we can get the copy of 117 Main Street, and I think we could do some more research, Carrie can, on the previous decision. Can I get a motion to adjourn it to the next meeting?
So moved, Alex.
So moved. Second.
Okay, Alex and Ham.
Okay,
All in
thank you.
favor?
Aye. Thank you for what is a long night. I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next case. 55 Howard Street. Do I have a motion to open?
So moved, Scott.
Second? Who made the motion?
Scott.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second. Board.
Ham seconded.
Okay. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Nicholas Vero, architect, 120 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach.
And can you put your right hand up, please? I have to swear you in. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do. Good evening. So I'm here on behalf of Rose Summershield, 55 Howard Street. I was looking to put a first floor addition on our house and a second floor addition on the existing 1.5 story house. Property is an existing structure. It's improved with the 1 story house, 3 bedrooms, swimming pool, extensive brick paving, patios, which total, I believe, we have over a little over 4,000 square feet of lot coverage, or 54.8% of lot coverage existing right now. So our proposal that we're looking to do here is a 2nd story house, as per the drawings that we have in front of you. And we're seeking several variances. Front yard setback to maintain the existing front yard setback of 11.7 feet. 2 side yard setbacks, one being on the south side, 11.4 feet, and the north side of 8.0 feet, again, which are existing because we're looking to raise or extend our 2nd floor up, even with the sides in the front of the building. In order to accomplish the rear addition, which is on the west side of the house, that side yard setback is 11.6 feet and 14.2 feet on the north side of that. So those are the side yard setbacks we're asking for. Now we'll talk about the variances that we are seeking for the pyramid law. If you flip to our elevation page, I've color coded everything as per the requirements of this board. So we see green is existing, yellow is the additions that do not need pyramid variances, and the red color, hopefully it's red on your drawings, are the areas of the variances that we're looking for that pierce the sky plane. I've calculated all of the proposed volumes. So we have the proposed east elevation, which is the front of the house. We have a total volume of 30,000 cubic feet. So we're looking for a 14,000 cubic foot increase, which is 48%, as noted on the drawings. It is substantial because the front yard setback, like I said, is 11.7 feet off the front property line.
What was that number again? The total cubic volume of violation?
Total cubic is 14,676 square feet. That's the delta. You have an existing, okay. The total is 30,504. That's the total volume, as you can see from our pyramid. So we have a 48% increase in that violation. Okay.
So, but the 14,676 is all new violation.
That's all new, correct.
Okay.
As calculated by, you can see by the triangulated lines on our drawings. The proposed south elevation, which is the left side elevation, you can see that, that violation there, but I think I calculated that on the other sheet, if I'm not mistaken, so you'll just have to bear with me. I'm sorry, I apologize. We have 3,108 cubic feet. Our delta is 2,794 cubic feet of volume that we're asking for an increase to what we have, which is existing. So that's the major increase because that's the the shorter side yard setback. So that's an 89% increase. And again, that's by virtue of raising a second floor up on this house. There is, it is a 1.5 story house. There are 2 bedrooms upstairs. Of course, they're underneath, it's a glorified cape. I'll call it a cape for lack of anything else. I don't think we can call it a salt box. So, the middle to the ridge, you have height. As you get wider into the 2 bedrooms that are upstairs, you lose your head height, which is not habitable space because it drops off to 4 feet height real fast. You flip to the next page, which is the proposed west elevation or rear elevation. Again, the proposed volume is 30,504, and our delta is 14,676, same as it is on the east side elevation. So that's a 48% increase. So I try to detail everything up as per your request, so you can see what we're looking to do. And again, you look at the north elevation, the proposed cubic volume is 30,504. Our delta there is 14,676, same as the other side, so a 48% increase. I gave you the existing elevations of the house and compared them to the new elevations. You can see it is pretty sizable. It's still is a 2-story house with 8-foot plate heights on the first floor, 8-foot plate heights on the second floor. Existing 8-foot plate heights on the first floor is what exists right now. We're proposing second floor of an 8-foot 1 plate height, which is normal construction, although today most people do 9-foot plate heights. So looking at our volume and what we're looking to achieve here, we can say that this is a pretty substantial increase in volume. But I'd like to just go through the 5 points if you just will allow me for 2 more minutes. We're looking at whether there's an undesirable change with our application will do to the character of the neighborhood. The proposed 2nd-story addition will match the style and character of the surrounding 2-story houses in the neighborhood. So therefore, I think it'll be a benefit to the rest of the neighborhood if we're allowed to do a 2-story structure. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved some other method feasible to the applicant. Due to the nature of the size of the property is 56 feet wide. It narrows down to 50 feet in the back. It's a little over 7,000 square feet. There's an existing house on the property that's 37 feet wide. Without knocking the house down and, creating a house that's only 20 feet wide, there's no other way to achieve, a 2-story house on this piece of property. Whether the requested variance is substantial, I pretty much just said it. It appears to be a substantial variance by nature of the pyramid and the sky plane. Although I'd like to just point out that the proposed gross floor area that we're proposing is 2,376 square feet, where our maximal allowable gross floor area is 2,585 square feet. So we didn't, come here to max out that square footage of floor area. So, I'm stating that that's, kind of in our favor also. The proposed variance will not have an adverse or impact on physical and environmental conditions because we're not increasing 3 bedrooms. We have a 3-bedroom house right now. There's one on the first floor, 2 small bedrooms on the second floor, 1 bathroom on each floor. So we're not increasing the bedroom count. So we're really not increasing, the use of the building and how many people can be actually in that building. And lastly, the alleged difficulty was self-created. I'm of the belief that no matter what is presented before a board, it is usually self-created because, zoning rules are in effect for a reason. We're here to ask permission to get a variance from that relief. If the client didn't want to do that, then it's, it's up to them and it's not self-created. So yes, it is self-created, but again, every project that you look at is, it has its own merits. And that's why we make presentations to zoning boards. Answer any questions that you might have.
Just a technical thing about the pyramid.
Yes.
You've taken it from average grade, but our code does not allow average grade. It's from the grade at the property line. So we would need at least spot elevations on the property lines and
Okay.
it tied to those grade elevations.
Sure. All right. I gave you corner elevations, which, we can interpolate, but I can certainly do those as we go.
Well, we need them on the survey and then we need
8.2
them
in
on
the
your
front,
pyramid.
8.5 in the back. Okay. Not a problem. I can do that.
And the first, just so the first floor elevation in relation to the grade is established properly.
Are there any other questions of the applicant?
I'm sorry, you break it
I
up.
do. I have 2 questions. One concerning the Howard Street. Is that a historical home?
Yes, it's a
Yes.
contributing structure in the National Register district of the village. Yes.
Has this gone before the ARB?
It has not yet. I wanted to come to the zoning board first based on my conversations that I had with Mr. Talbert. Just so I can, get some input from this board. I'd be more than happy to go to the ARB and talk to them. And again, this is the reason why I just went straight up on the house, for it to be a little more historical as opposed to reversing a gable on the front. I think that would take it out of the context of what this house is and what it was. So I'd be more than happy to go to the ARB.
I would suggest that because
Yes.
this is a contributing house
Mhm.
and you've engulfed it in a new house and the ARB is not probably going to want you to do that.
Okay.
Meaning
My second-
they don't want to take a house like this and put a second floor on top of it.
Okay.
So that would be I would have a difficult time approving this.
I would
That's
too.
for the board. Absolutely. Okay. Understood.
You
And
need to
also
go to the-
because the pyramid,
Yeah.
the pyramid excesses are so substantial.
I'm sorry. There's 3 people talking. I apologize. I can't hear everybody.
Your variance requests are substantial,
Mhm.
as you have pointed out, and I agree with Scott that you should go talk to the ARB because I think that will help you design a project that is
Realistic.
realistic in terms of getting their approval.
Okay. Understood.
I have one question, one more question. I understand less is more. Can you reiterate the loss of coverage from 4,000 to 2,323 square feet? What did you remove anything or you attempting to move something?
We're proposing to remove all of the paving in the backyard, which is pretty substantial. If you look at the survey and you look at my site plan where I'm showing all the dashed lines around the pool, all we would want to do is just do a simple coping around the pool and the rest is all grass. A very simple covered patio where there's substantial patios There's huge bricks on either side, as you know, one being a walkway on the north side of the house, the other is the driveway, which we would not remove. So that was our proposal, was to reduce the lot coverage down substantially as part of the application.
And also, when I went to review the house, I did not have access to the backyard because they had locks on the doors.
I didn't know that. My apologies to you. I'll make sure that when in the future we come back to the board, I'll make sure that the locks
Because
are
I could not enter into the backyard and see what was there.
Okay.
And just as an aside, just so you know, I've been on the board a long time. We've never approved anything close to this amount of cubic footage for a pyramid variance.
Okay,
Even
understood.
half of this amount is an enormous amount for us to approve. Even
Okay.
half of it.
All right.
And one of our charges is to reduce the variances, not approve ones that are too big.
I mean,
So
this
we
is a
asked-
tiny, I'm sorry, Susan.
We ask most applicants to see if they can reduce them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tiny house on a small parcel and should probably remain not a huge house. It's trying to turn this into, just a too big house for the property, I would say.
Well received. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any speakers in the audience? Do I have a motion to adjourn this? I guess.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I think we are now completed. Hey, we have completed our new business. Is that correct? I'm in the dark. If you can't tell, my light won't go on. Is there anything else on our agenda that I've missed?
Procedure resolution.
Yes, we're going to discuss that now. There's a policy resolution that's being considered tonight to set policies for this board.
I'm going
And
to share my screen.
yeah,
Okay,
that would be great.
there you can, Liz.
Okay.
Liz, do you want to go through them quickly for us?
Sure.
And just summarize?
So this would be a resolution adopted by the zoning board of appeals to set some policies for your meetings.
I'm sorry, for Liz, for some reason, I'm really having trouble hearing you. It's very distorted. And I'm wondering whether it might make more sense for you to read it, Susan.
Okay.
I'd like Liz to summarize it since she's the drafter of it, and it has some items that I didn't consider.
Okay. No,
She has a
okay.
better
Sorry about my
I just wish
volume.
the sound was better. I'm having trouble hearing it.
I think it's my computer. Is it better now?
Yes.
A little
Okay,
better. Yeah, if you go closer, I guess.
I'll try and get closer, sorry. So the first procedure would be that all pre-application discussions and questions should occur with the building department and the building inspector, not individual ZBA members. And that's already in the village code, and I cited the section of the code that it's in. The second is that for decisions that are not residential variances and are commercial and require a more thorough secret review, and where the planning board is the lead agency, the application should really not be presented to the ZBA until the planning board has completed its secret review. And that's because sometimes applications go through changes during the secret review. So that allows for all those changes and mitigation measures to be made to the application, and then it's in a final form where variances could be granted, and it could change the relief needed. So that's one of the procedures. Third is that everyone should communicate with the ZBA during a public hearing in either writing or in person at the public hearing, or can submit written submissions to the board during the public hearing period. That's to ensure that there are no ex parte communications with individual board members about pending applications, and also to ensure that comments are actually made part of the public hearing record. Number 4 is applicants should have a maximum of 10 minutes to make their initial presentation. That's exclusive of board questions. And if they need additional time, they can always ask for additional time or submit information in writing. Number 5, members of the public shall have a maximum of 3 minutes to provide comments regarding applications at public hearings. That's again exclusive of board questions. And again, if a speaker needs additional time, written submissions can always be made to the board. 6, applicants must submit updated surveys for any applications that are amended during the public hearing process to the building inspector review. This allows the building inspector to confirm the amount of amended relief requested and needed, and also to determine whether the application must be re-noticed due to the amended relief. 7, all revised surveys and plans must have the most recent revision date indicated on the survey and must be submitted to the department, the building department, 7 days prior to the board meeting. That's actually a rule already right now. I just don't know that it's followed. Number 8, all photographs, aerial charts, written submissions must include the application name, the tax map number of the property you're discussing, and a brief description of the item being submitted. And again, 7 days before the board meeting. And finally, number 9 is just that ZBA determinations with typos or any typographical errors could be amended and corrected without an additional public hearing notice or public hearing.
And just so you know, Chris Talbert, the building official, reviewed these as well. And I'm sure some of these suggestions may have even come from him. Does anybody have any questions? Is there concern over one particular one that you have that requires a further explanation? I know we're all tired.
I'm fine with all of them.
So am I.
So am I.
Joe?
I'm fine. Okay.
Okay, so a motion to approve, please.
So moved, Alex.
Second, Joe.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Bravo. Thank you guys very much for this. I think
Thank
it will
you.
help our meetings to be a little bit speedier, particularly as it relates to the secret issue. All right, thanks. Good night. Oh, a motion to close the hearing or
So
adjourn,
moved.
excuse me.
Scott?
Second,
Alex?
Second.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you very
Aye.
much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
next month.
Board
Yes.
members,
Yes.
please, everybody, check your emails just about decisions because they need to be to the clerk by the end of the week. So I'm just gonna send an email right now. So just please read it tonight.